Look up there. Look! Must be a new kid in camp.
Hey, who was that little jerk?
He just came out of nowhere.
Hey, it's a newcomer.
Stupid Vale was in my way. Was he cute? Hi, I'm Dina Alexander.
I say who goes and who stays, and I say you go.
You've only been here 6 hours, and I already know your trouble.
Take a look on the flagpole and salute your shorts. Oh, that's nice, Budnick. Hey, you keep up the good work, all right?
Kick it.
Greetings, campers, and welcome to Splat Attack, a podcast that overflows into the slime-filled past. I'm your fresh-off-the-bus new kid, Brett.
And I'm your cool kid, salami-wielding camper, Alex. And, Brett!
Yes?
What brings us back to Camp Awnawana this summer?
Well, I've been feeling a bit nostalgic for Salute Your Shorts ever since we did the Cursed Skull episode review over on Patreon. And with summer camp in full swing this season, I figured it would be best to pack my things and head to the happiest place on earth so I can make friends, sing songs, and hopefully avoid the dreaded awful waffle.
You're a fairly cool kid. I'm sure you'll make friends with lots of people once you settle in your bunk and pick some fun activities to attend.
I mean, let's hope. This guy with a red-haired mullet and his large friend are giving me some weird looks from across the street. Ooh. Does anyone have a map to my bunk so I can unpack already?
I do.
Oh! Oh, is that who I think it is? It's Justin! Hey, Justin! Welcome back to Camp Awnawana with us.
What up?
What brings you back? How are you doing?
Well, I just felt the need to get away from my family for a couple months. It's hard enough spending all my time with them after school. But now that school's out, my life, it's all about girls, guitars, and great fun at Camp Awnawana.
Definitely three things worth pursuing while at summer camp.
Most definitely.
Well, we're happy to have you back, my friends. This is going to be a fun-filled episode battle. I just know it. But before we suit up for war, what are some of your favorite summer camp memories, if you have any, guys?
Justin, do you have any summer camp memories?
No, I've never attended camp, but I guess living vicariously through this show, I felt like I was there.
It often feels that way.
Let's see. I can pull several, but I'm not going to because I could be here all day just talking about summer camp because I had mentioned it in our Versus episode with Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. But I used to go to summer camp when I was a kid, and I didn't stop going until I became an adult. But the reason for that was I went to camp as a camper. And then I was too old to be a camper. And then I went as a camp counselor. And then I went back again as an adult as the guest speaker, because this is a Christian camp, obviously. I mean, you guys have heard me talk several times about going to church. And I remember being excited going to kids camp as a kid, because this wasn't like most kids camps that I would think of. I mean, the bunk was almost like a college dorm, because it was a 2-story building, but that was just the rooms, and there were 3 bunk beds within the room, so you'd have 5 campers and 1 counselor, and then there was a big mess hall, but it was all bricks. It almost looked like a school cafeteria, and there was a gymnasium and a swimming pool and a couple of classrooms, so that way you could get in from out of the heat. You could go inside and play like pool and board games and things like that. But there was a lot of outdoor activities, and I really, really dug doing the outdoor stuff. I learned how to tie knots and make your own rope ladders and things like that. But as a counselor, one of my favorite things to do was wake the kids up. Because I had a pretty good group of kids every single year, but I always got those 2. And it was the same 2 kids every year, and they were from my church, and they were the ones that were tough to get up in the morning because they were so wore out. The others, they would get up the second I told them, all right, it's time to get up, guys, and they were fine. But this one, especially Levi, that kid, he would do that thing where he would roll over, ignore me. So day number 1, I was like, all right, come on, and I'd keep nudging him. Day number 2, All right, if you don't get up, I'm going to start getting mean. Day number 3, I grabbed the pillow and I yeeted it out from under his head. So his head went bonk right up against the mattress. And he shot up when that happened. And I plowed him in the face with the pillow and knocked him back down. And all the kids are Of course, he was laughing too, because we roughhouse all the time because, we're boys. And now he's laughing. I said, yeah, get up. The next day, I turned the AC up really low. Or high, however you want to look at it. So I went to go take a shower, because I'd go shower before all the boys did, and then I would come back and then wake them all up. Now the room is cold. Though the boys would get up, except him, and I would pull the bed covers off, all of them, and he only slept in shorts, and he hated that. He was like, oh, get my covers. I'm like, no, get your clothes on. Okay. But the last day was the day the water came out. And I said, if you don't get up, I will baptize you in the bed. And he said, no, you won't. You gonna test me on this? And all the other boys are going, do it, Alex, go do it, go get the water. I said, you watch him, make sure he keep an eye on him. He goes, okay. And I came back with a big old like Tupperware thing full of water and all over him. And he jumped out of bed and was like, oh, I told you, get up. But the last time when I went as a guest speaker, that was really cool, because I went as a character, and the children's pastor was just himself. I was as a character, and it got to the point where all the other kids were chanting my character's name to come out once it got started, and it was cool.
Awesome! Wow, it sounds like you had a lot of memories to enjoy over at camp with the fellow campers there.
I did. I had a great time.
Cool. Well, my summer camp experience is slightly more limited, but it still has a lot of memories for me, because I was a Boy Scout and later Eagle Scout growing up. I joined mainly because of Are You Afraid of the Dark and Salute Your Shorts, because I wanted to tell stories around the campfire, and I wanted to make friends at camp, just like Michael did in my particular episode. So I took from his example and joined Scouts in first grade, and I went to like Camp Tadma and Camp Mattatuck in Connecticut growing up. I don't know if they're still there, but they're like in the more wooded parts of those areas. And I just remember like being so excited that I was able to rough it with other scouts around my age and do all the fun activities like archery and rifle range and like swimming, environmental science, that sort of thing, cooking too. I don't have any specific memories that come to mind. Of course, when I try to think of it, all of them elude me. But I do remember doing like a secret society-esque tribal council thing to get my Order of the Arrow sash, which was like a secret side tangent of Boy Scouts, where you do different types of activities with much older scouts in order to be initiated in their exclusive side club. Anyone who's also been in Boy Scouts and rose for the ranks would know about this. I'm not just making it up. And so I remember like we had to show up at the lodge after the mess hall was cleared off for dinner, and we had to do like a secret knock to get into the door, because they had to make sure that not just anyone was showing up. And we met a bunch of imposing looking adults at one of the corner tables there, and they just kind of led us through the back on this little trail into the woods, and then they had to blindfold us to get past a certain point to see if we were worthy enough to get to their secret spot where the ritual is being held. And after we repeated some words and an oath, we ended up being inducted. And it was pretty fun to meet everyone who I didn't expect to end up in the Order of the Arrow secret society-esque Boy Scout thing. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoy getting to know my fellow campers just a little bit better, just doing a lot of fun activities, goofing off. Sadly, there was no Girl Scout camps around, and it was an all-boy camp. So aside from maybe the nurse or one or two of the counselors, we were out of luck. So that's unfortunate, but at least I earned a lot of merit badges there and spent all my parents' money at the student or the campers. No, the trading post. Sorry, I'm mixing it up with the student store at school. And I remember just buying a lot of Charleston Chew candies for like $5 and having like contests to see who can stuff the most in their mouth and chew it and swallow it before they had to spit it out. And I typically won because I had a special technique to like just shove it into the side of my mouth while I keep on chewing. So yeah, that's a fun fact no one needed to know, but that's what I'm grasping for straws with all the camp memories here to make it seem exciting. That's what I recall. Other than like the sing-alongs in the amphitheater before bed, cannonball contest at the waterfront, canoeing on the lake, and tipping over our scoutmasters when we turned a little bit too tight. Fun, silly stuff like that.
I will share one more memory now that I'm thinking about it, because you had just said there was no girls around. Ours was co-ed. Like the dorm thing, the girls were on the first floor, we were on the second floor. But up to this point, I was not aware of my best asset, which I later learned about whenever girls became more vocal to me. Apparently, there is a feature of my body that a lot of girls really enjoyed, and I didn't know anything about this. And at one point, it was the last day of kids camp, I was a counselor, and one of the older girls, as I'm walking by, said, "Do you know you got a J-Lo booty?"
Really?
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And then I told Megan, who at the time, we were not dating. We were just very, very good friends. And I told her that this little girl said that. I can't believe she told me that. And Megan went, "I can." Great. Thank you.
She wasn't fooled by the rocks that you got.
She wasn't. So it was my best asset.
I see.
When you were saying that you got into camp because of Are You Afraid of the Dark, I was waiting for you to go on about how the Tale of the Manaha changed your life.
I was going to mention that, actually, but we just talked about that in our previous episode during our wild card segment. So I don't know if I want to tread old water here. I mean, there was that counselor from hell who I compared to Larry from Welcome Camp Nightmare. His name's Lonnie, and he was just perpetually to everyone for no reason. He would take away people's comics. He would smush kids like meatball subs. He would just talk down to kids. And I actually had a counselor who was like that at Camp Tadma when I was a much younger Boy Scout, who would just shout at everyone all the time, like, "Geez, what got up your butt, a raccoon or a squirrel?" But
He was out of salami.
yeah, that's what happens when you run out of salami. Counselors get irritated. Thanks for bringing that memory back, Alex. The Manaha is a brilliant piece of work, and everyone should go watch it now. Splatceptional.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Well, with all these memories that we've been sharing, I do think I hear Dr. Khan is telling us over the loudspeaker to head to the activity field. So let's grab our armor and weapons for the epic battle ahead.
Let's.
All right, so Brett, I don't think we've really said just what our topic is. Yes, we're doing Salute Your Shorts, but what specifically are we addressing?
Well, believe it or not, if you can't tell from our backgrounds, we're doing Michael Comes to Camp versus Pinsky Comes to Camp, which are both the first episodes of their respective seasons. And they both are essentially the new kid in camp, the everyman that everyone relates to. And we're going to find out through this episode battle who is the better one. And good Lord, stop picking his nose. We're not having that kind of fight here.
I'm picking Pinsky.
Pick Pinsky. That's a good slogan.
Well, since we're talking about Michael and Pinsky, what are the two episodes that we're talking about today? Well, I should say, what are the episode details?
Sure. So some basic episode info for all you slimesters out there. Michael Comes to Camp, also known as The First Day, is the first episode of Season 1 of Salute Your Shorts, and its air date is June 1st, 1991. It was written by Steve Slavkin and directed by Peter Baldwin. And for Pinsky Comes to Camp, which is the first episode of Season 2 of Salute Your Shorts, is also known as Goodbye Michael, Hello Pinsky. Its air date is June 1st, 1992. It was also written by Steve Slavkin and is directed by Jefferson Gibby. So Justin, with all that that being said, before we get tongue-tied, what are our episode battle categories for today?
So first we have story.
A pizza.
We also have main character.
Pepperoni.
Then we have camper hijinks and activities,
Mushrooms.
memorable quotes,
Bell peppers.
and why my new kid at camp is better.
Thick crust.
Wow, that's quite an assortment of categories. It's very different than our typical ones for versus or episode battle. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see how this pans out. Alrighty, well, I guess I'll start with story then.
A pizza.
For Michael Comes to Camp. The story begins with Dina and some girls setting up a welcome banner over the Camp Awnawana entrance sign. Just as they adjust it to the right height, a school bus rams right through it, tearing up the banner in the process. Dina gets flustered, and we shift to the bus door opening and unloading campers once Dr. Khan announces the start of the camp season over the loudspeaker. One of the boys wearing an open button-up shirt and peach-colored t-shirt runs into another camper wearing an official Camp Awanawa t-shirt, kind of like the one I'm wearing right now. This is Michael interacting with Sponge, and after exchanging some dialogue, they quickly become friends. Sponge warns Michael of all the things that bite at camp, and once they see the bus roll away, the camp bully Budnick and his lackey Donkey Lips proceed to pilfer Michael's duffel bag and run his green and red boxer shorts up the flagpole, as their way of saying, "Welcome to camp." While Michael groans in embarrassment and the girls point and laugh, Sponge encourages Michael and the other campers around them to stand at attention and salute his shorts. Cut to the iconic intro and theme song. After the intro, we see Michael settle into bunk 13, where Budnick introduces all of Michael's bunkmates, including himself. After a brief bunk tour, the new kid searches for a bunk bed. Budnick shows him one with a gross stain on it and reluctantly lays down. A moment later, the bed frame collapses and Budnick and Donkey Lips high-five. Cut to Dr. Khan announcing today's activities and calling out Dina to participate this time. At the girls' bunk, we see Zizi, Dina, and Telly discuss what they've been doing, or going to do, rather, at camp today. Telly expresses her excitement in playing baseball, but Dina stops her, claiming she has a fashion alert with those Coke bottle eyeglasses. Cut to the baseball field, where we are introduced to Counselor Kevin, quote-unquote Ugg Lee, laying down the camp rules. Budnick insults Ugg after Donkey Lips establishes the counselor's nickname, and he does 20 push-ups as a punishment. The baseball game begins. While Ugg judges as the umpire, Sponge gives some advice to bat against Telly's fastball. Michael revs up and hits a hard home run. Michael dashes across the bases while Telly struggles to get her teammates to cooperate. She grabs the ball and throws it to Budnick. Before Michael can make it to third base, Budnick taunts him in a game of keep away, which develops into a wrestling match right there and then on the field. Cut to Budnick and Michael holding 2 buckets of water as Ugg dumps his canteen water into each of them. Just as Ugg turns and walks away, Budnick dumps one of his buckets directly on Michael, but Ugg turns around suddenly, showing he's got his eye on him. Budnick acts naturally while Michael scowls at his rival, and Ugg turns around after signaling he's going to keep his eye on both of them this summer. All summer. Cut to the lodge where Dina, Telly, and Zizi sit next to Michael to get to know him. Telly comments on Michael's impressive hit, but she's referring to him punching Budnick earlier. Donkey Lips butts in, but Dina shoos him away. Donkey Lips retreats to a nearby craft table where Budnick tells him to finish his macaroni project. Donkey Lips chomps on his hard macaroni ball. Budnick devises a plan to take Michael down via the secret society. Dun 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 dun. Cut to Sponge recording Michael walking around camp when Budnick and Donkey Lips ambush the two, forcing them to infiltrate the girls' bunk and bring back some souvenirs along with footage of them later at night. That night, Dr. Khan wishes everyone a good night's sleep while Taps plays on the intercom. We see the girls inside their bunk prepare a series of booby traps, suspecting the guys will try to get in. Dina puts lipstick on, claiming, "You can trap boys your way, and I'll trap boys my way." As the camera pans to an alarm clock reading 2:11 a.m., we see Michael and Sponge scurry through the tall grass and into the girls' bunk, while ominous slasher music fills the air. Ugg, meanwhile, is sneaking around with a flashlight looking for campers who are breaking curfew. He hears a noise in the girls' bunk, then enters. He looks around and sees nothing suspicious, except for maybe a $5 bill hanging from a string from the ceiling. Ugg gingerly plucks it off the string, and then all hell breaks loose, Home Alone style. Tons of egg, whipped cream, and baked beans massacre everyone in the girls' bunk, while Michael and Sponge book it in their escape back to theirs. Classical music intensely rises just as a duffel bag loaded with weights swings into Ugg, knocking him clear off his feet and into the camp yard. Ugg rushes into the boys' bunk and makes the kids a deal. A milkshake and a pizza every night for the rest of the summer, if the boys confess who did this to him. None of the boys flinch, so Ugg retreats out of the bunk, mentioning various pizza toppings still shaken. Once the lights are off, Budnick and Donkey Lips examine the stolen goods. Zizi's diary, Dina's makeup kit, and Telly's glasses. Budnick claims that was a hardcore move, but unfortunately, Michael realizes he lost her glasses along the way back. The four boys agree to search for her glasses outside in the dead of night. Michael steps on them and lifts them up while Sponge pukes off-screen from the adrenaline. How is he going to get out of this mess now? Budnick mentions one of the perks of being in the secret society is he can frame someone else for the crime. The next day at the lodge, the three girls confront Budnick, demanding their possessions back. Budnick denies he has them, but he knows someone else who does. Budnick points to an innocent camper nearby, who we later know as Kent Flankman, and rouses all the campers, "It's awful waffle time!" While animal sounds and chanting intensifies, Michael stops Flankman from being tortured under false pretenses, confessing he was the person who stole and broke Telly's glasses. Everyone is flabbergasted by Michael doing the right thing. Telly, naturally, is upset, and Budnick is also upset for Michael chickening out of their plan. Budnick turns to Sponge, who retaliates by squirting him with tons of ketchup. Sponge flees the scene while the rest of the campers point and laugh at Budnick while Donkey Lips tries to calm everyone else down. But the laughing only gets louder. Back at the boys' bunk, Michael returns, hanging his head in shame. Telly confronts Michael, revealing it was a happy accident her glasses broke, since now she has to wear contacts. Thank goodness they are covered by insurance. Telly and Michael make amends and then dribble a basketball out of the bunk together. Zizi and Dina pop out from behind other bunks to trash the boys' bunk in toilet paper as retribution for the mess they had made earlier. Fade to credits of Sweet Sweet Camp on Awanawa Lake. End of the episode.
Cue the voiceover. Don't forget tonight on Snick. Ren is going in space.
All right, Alex, take it away with Pinsky Comes to Camp. What's the story about?
Well, the episode opens with a mob of campers betting on how many chicken pox Michael has, considering he's supposed to be returning to camp after a recent illness. Dina asks Sponge what is going on, and she makes a bet with Donkey Lips and Budnick once they reveal the winner gets a gallon of ice cream. Suddenly, a station wagon pulls into the dirt road near the lake where the mob of campers attack the vehicle. One of the car doors opens, and Ugg steps out. Donkey Lips clamors, "Hey, he's not in there!" To which Ugg replies how Michael won't be returning to camp because he's going to Europe to hike in Switzerland with his parents. The campers become somber upon hearing the news. Fade to the show iconic intro. We fade in to see a mock funeral dirge of all the campers walking through the camp entrance with Michael's steamer trunk as they approach the station wagon. Dina asks to ride with Ugg, presumably outside the camp, and all the main character campers, except Budnick, drop their stuff and pile into the station wagon while Ugg argues with them on the way out. Meanwhile, some classical music once again plays to match Budnick running through the woods to catch up with the station wagon. He misses them by a few feet, salutes the car, then walks back. Fade to black. We fade back in to hear the kids at the baseball field reminisce about Michael and how it's not so bad because it's like the change of seasons. We are then introduced with fanfare to our new camper, Ronnie Pinsky, who convinces Ugg to carry all of his belongings and a ton of sports equipment on the pretenses that Pinsky has back spasms that comes and goes. Ugg and Pinsky approach the baseball field, where the new kid witnesses Budnick getting an unearned, easy home run. Much like Michael comes to camp, none of the outfielders move an inch to get the baseball while Telly shouts at them to do something. Pinsky cannot allow this injustice to happen, so he dashes to grab the ball, throws it at Donkey Lips, and he catches the ball, striking Budnick out at the last moment. The kids wonder who threw the ball. Cut to the boys' bunk, where the main campers all introduce themselves to Pinsky. Before Budnick can pound Pinsky for embarrassing him on the field, Pinsky orders his adversary to grab the football that he brought into camp. He reaches inside and pulls out a long package of Pinsky dry Italian salami, a delicacy all the campers fawn over, except Budnick. Budnick confronts the new kid, claiming that he didn't like his presence here and wants him to go. However, nobody backs Budnick on his demand. Before Budnick can leave the bunk, Ugg repels the camper away. Ugg then explains that since all the campers have been exposed to Michael before his chickenpox, they have to be quarantined. Flashbacks. The girls are immediately separated and sent to their bunks, and Budnick tells Pinsky which bed is his. And of course, Budnick knocks over the bed frame, similar to the previous episode, except Pinsky seems unfazed by Budnick's prank, as he just focuses on eating his salami. Cut to the girls' bunk, where Ugg nails a quarantine signboard across their bunk entrance, sealing them in. Dina and the girls fantasize who else they could get into Camp Awnawana if Sponge, Donkey Lips, and Budnick were sent home because of chickenpox. They mention celebrities such as Michael Jordan, Jason Priestley, and Tom Cruise to take their places, then chant in a circle, hoping their desires become fulfilled. Meanwhile, while Ugg guards the boys' bunk outside their door on a lawn chair, he reads up on potential symptoms of chickenpox that he might have. Meanwhile, the boys devise a plan to escape their quarantine by whistling into glass jugs, simulating a white noise capable of putting the meddling counselor to sleep. Pinsky then pours ketchup into a spray bottle, takes a piece of paper with holes poked into it, and sprays Ugg's face while he's asleep to simulate chickenpox. Budnick then blasts some music to wake Ugg up, prompting him to look in his hand mirror at his own illness coming to fruition. Now that Ugg has scampered off to the nurse's office and no one's guarding the bunks, Sponge, Donkey Lips, and Pinsky head to the girls' bunks. Pinsky proclaims the quarantine is over, but is unable to break through the wooden sign. Telly tells him to step aside, then punches right through the sign, breaking it in half. They all agree to head to the lodge for some sodas. Over at the lodge, Pinsky stealthily maneuvers around furniture to the kitchen to grab the sodas in the pantry. Budnick shows up to warn the campers that Ugg is on his way. Pinsky exits the pantry with a box full of watermelons and bananas to face Ugg. He drops the box of produce on his foot, and then we cut to a muddy field where the disgruntled counselor berates all the kids for breaking quarantine. Pinsky endures his punishment by rolling an orange with his nose in the mud. Again, he feels unfazed by the negative energy thrown at him, and cut to a bathroom where Ugg struggles to remove the red chicken pox from his face. He tries washing his face with water and a pair of blue boxers, and even a coarse toothbrush, but nothing seems to work. Later that night, Pinsky wakes up, feeling the urge to dance. Sponge warns him not to do it, but Budnick tells him to let him go so he can get caught again. The creepy slasher music from Brett's episode cues Pinsky's departure. Immediately, Pinsky bumps into Ugg outside the girl's bunk and does his best to persuade that he's not causing trouble. After a moment of some major sucking up, Pinsky reveals his salami to Ugg, which causes Ugg to become wide-eyed with amazement. Get your mind out of the gutter, Brett.
And our listeners.
Ugg sniffs the salami in ecstasy. Oh. Disturbed by Pinsky's absence, the boys sneak to the lodge to witness Pinsky playing a jaunty, lively tune on the piano while the girls dance behind him. Meanwhile, we see Ugg sitting on top of the sofa where he engorges himself on a hefty salami sandwich. Budnick and Donkey Lips ponder why Pinsky is so likable and hateable at the same time, then return to their bunks. The next morning, Budnick hoists 5 pair of Pinsky's boxer shorts up the flagpole and calls for him to salute your shorts. The girls show up and mention all the fun, productive things that Pinsky is doing with the girls, mentioning it's like they recycled Michael into something better. The campers all gathered around the flagpole. Pinsky, unfazed yet again by Budnick's prank, salutes his shorts and grins. Then the group walks away, and Ugg shows up once again, proclaiming his love of salami to Budnick. And frustrated, Budnick just walks away from the flagpole, not understanding why Pinsky is here or why he's better than Michael. Cue credits where the camera rises up the flagpole with Budnick walking into the background on a dirt road. End of the episode.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Budnick at the end of your episode. He's like trying so hard to pull off the same hijinks that he did in my episode, but it's just not having the effect on Pinsky for whatever reason.
Yeah.
He's immune to his charm.
It's such a weird aspect because all of season 1 we've seen people best Budnick before, but it's fairly short-lived within the episode. I mean, even Sponge bested Budnick for a time on Michael Goes to Camp, but it's a few seconds as opposed to almost the entire episode where Budnick dominates. And that's been pretty much a staple for Salute Your Shorts. We see Budnick just completely owning almost every single situation he's in, even with Ugg. Even when he gets punished, he's still owning Ugg for the most part. When he's counselor, when Budnick is counselor for an episode, he gets a heavy dose of being humble. But for the most part, Budnick no one really gets the best of him for most of the episode. And this is really the first time that we see Budnick not have anything go his way, and he wants to be in control, but he's not. And Pinsky just doesn't care about anything he's not going to let anyone get the best of him. I mean, you might have won this particular scenario, but you still haven't beat his spirit, and that's really commendable. But again, we'll get to that later. But the fact that we actually get to see Budnick, first of all, fairly vulnerable, because I think the last time we saw him vulnerable was when he and Michael were in the nurse's office and they were getting ice cream.
Yep. One of my favorites.
That's really the only time we see him get vulnerable. The rest of the time, he just dogs Michael the entire season. And then the beginning of this season, he's already starting to dog him. But when he finds out he's not coming, he's genuinely somber, but he hides it from everybody else. And he's angry with everyone else too for wanting to move on, and he doesn't want to move on. And saluting the station wagon as it walks away, as they drive away, you can actually see that he's very bummed, probably more so than anyone else, probably because he's the only person that he had a true connection with throughout the season. And that's not really something that we'll address too much later in this episode, but I did want to bring it up here since we're talking story, because I really like the arc that Budnick went between these two episodes.
Agreed. Yeah, it's almost like they got a Batman Joker dynamic. You can't have one without the other, because they need each other to keep the balance of bully and bullied. But I really appreciate that out of all the characters, they start to grow together through that Budnick and Michael Fake being sick episode, which I'd love to cover later on the podcast, because they have a very real moment that not many other campers, if any of them, get to share, where Budnick reveals why he's got a chip on his shoulders because his mom has like a boyfriend that he doesn't like, and she's like a flight stewardess, and it kind of goes a little bit deeper into his psyche with how he has a distaste for puzzles, and he keeps people at bay just to kind of shield himself from being hurt again. But when he's able to solve the problem of how to get the TV to work and how to unlock the fridge with Michael, it's like, hey, you're not so bad after all. You know, I used to pick on you a lot for being the new kid, but you actually have some heart and some character that's worth getting to know. And by the end of it, they're practically friends. But we're not here to talk about that episode. I just want to mention how I like how they come together and appreciate being each other's yin to their yang between season 1 and season 2.
And I know that Justin is our judge for this episode, but I do have a question for Justin, and if he doesn't know, Brett, we'll pass it to you. Sure. Because I'm genuinely curious. I don't know as much of the backstory of the making of Salute Your Shorts outside of the interviews that we've had with Venus, but do you know why they changed actors, why they changed characters between season 1 and season 2?
Yeah, I think that, well, what I've heard in interviews was that just actually, I'm not quite sure. Actually, I'm getting the two confused with him and Eric from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh,
yeah. No, actually, yeah, I don't know.
From my understanding, he didn't want to do the show anymore. I think he took some of the acting a little bit too much to heart, and because it felt like he was having a rough time on set, he just decided not to do it. So they found someone else to fill in for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I briefly had a chance to talk with him directly, actually, over Instagram a couple of years ago when I was doing the Salute Your Short stickers, and he seemed to really like having the memory of being Michael the character, but he had like a distant feeling to him of some of those memories tied to it. So it's hard to say exactly for sure, but that's my best guess based on what I'm able to piece together in my conversations of having with him privately.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious what led to the cast change there.
I didn't ever consider why, but I wonder if he did see any of season 2 and what his thoughts were about that. With if there was any regret, like I wish that was me, or yeah, he might have been just done altogether.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because I think he did a few other acting roles before he just went off the grid from acting in general. Yeah, because sometimes I imagine what a Michael season 2 episode would be like, and if he could actually, stand in place of Pinsky and it would still work or not based on their personality differences.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job with the role that he was given. He really makes you feel that character and relatable.
Well, speaking of main character, that's our second category, so I might as well dig a little deeper there.
Pepperoni.
So, of course, my character of the episode is Michael. He's the everyman kid who comes to camp, and he's pretty much like our Link from The Legend of Zelda, where we inject a little bit of our personality into him. Although he has a few traits here and there, like he likes Bon Jovi, he's into sports, as we see interacting with Telly. He shops wherever his mom makes him. He's got a decent generic style to his fashion sense, and I think he's pretty good at making friends for the most part. I actually relate to him as kind of the chameleon of a group, where you can just kind of alter your persona to whoever you're talking with and get along with them, whether it's like Sponge, Donkey Lips, or the girls. Maybe not so much Budnick for this episode, but later on even him too. Trying to think what else I can say about him. I just think he's all around humble. He's pleasant. If someone kind of pushes him the wrong way, he'll find a way to get back at him, but he'll always do the right thing at the end of the day. I can't imagine how hard it was for his character to confess to stealing Telly's glasses in order to prevent an innocent bystander from getting awful waffled, whatever that is. Because he's risking his reputation online, and that's important when you're trying to make a name for yourself, especially in a new surrounding, even if it's summer camp or even around kids. And while he may have looked like a fool in the moment, at least Telly had some time to reflect on his noble deed and forgive him for that later on. And they come to become pretty good friends, and we see their friendship developed in select episodes throughout season 1, like Cinderella Play or even Toilet Seat Basketball, where they're playing basketball together. Yeah, there isn't really much more to say. I just think he's a kind of a general likable person that's easy to relate to and could be friends with most anyone. And I think his strength is his versatility.
Well, for my end of the Salute Your Short spectrum, we have Pinsky, and he is, I want to say he's chaotic neutral for the most part. He's kind of the Jack Sparrow. You don't really know whose side he's on outside of himself. But the thing about Michael and Pinsky is going back as an adult before I went back and revisited these episodes again, and I was just going purely on memory from something that I last saw when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remembered Telly, Dina, ZZ. I remembered Sponge, Donkey Lips, and Budnick. I had a vague memory of Pinsky. I had no memory of Michael. Because Michael, like you said, he was kind of designed to be the indie kid, so that way people could just put themselves in that situation and be able to remember the other and how would they respond to this. But the problem with doing the indie character kid is you make the character fairly boring while you have all the other supporting characters be really strong. And since now they have to go with this, they went with Pinsky. And I think a lot of the traits that made Michael so special, you could also find those same traits in other characters within the show. So instead of just making another Michael, let's make an all-new character. And I think that was a really smart move, because now you have Pinsky, who completely changes the dynamic of several characters, Budnick especially. He is a character who will not let anyone get the best of him, even though they eventually succeed in some of the later episodes of the season. He's not going to admit defeat, even though he knows he's defeated, and I really appreciate that. That is definitely a trait that I've come to take whenever I became an adult, because when I was a kid, I had a very, very poor self-image of myself, and I was very easily upset when somebody said anything intentional to hurt my feelings and succeeded. It wasn't until I became a teenager and my children's pastor was telling me it doesn't matter what people think of you. And now going back and watching this episode, a lot of the things, I mean, this face, I have made this expression so many times when people, especially in junior high and high school, would try to get the best of me. And I don't know if I picked it up from Salute Your Shorts, or if it was more my children's pastor who was ministering to me. I want to say it was more the latter, but there was some start here. But I had to learn how to face people who bullied and would insult and all these things, and learn to just not care. It doesn't matter. So when Budnick would knock the bed over, or would try to insult him or try to belittle him and kick him out, this isn't Ugg's bunk, this is my bunk. I own this bunk, and I can decide who stays, I can decide who goes, and I decide you leave. And Pinsky just didn't care. It's like, you know what, fine, but everyone try the salami first. And even was able to blackmail Ugg, bribe Ugg into being able to go back and in with the girls and do all these other things. He just doesn't care. And if he gets caught, fine. He's still not going to let that bother him. But his spirit is one that we've not seen, and is what makes the character far more of a character. Because now you go back and you can look at this entire ensemble cast, and you can see bits and pieces of your personality and one or two other characters. I think that if you could combine Telly and Pinsky into one person, that probably would have been more myself. But I didn't see myself as one character all the way through. And Sponge thrown in there, those three, because there's personality things in all three of them that were mine. But there was no one character that you really latched onto and stuck with. I would say most would stick with, and especially with the character of Michael being a safe place. They went with a bold character in season 2. And also, as mentioned, I love how they changed the Budnick Budnick's arc. Not just now that Michael's gone and he's lost that connection. Now he has to start fresh anew. But now he's got somebody who's going toe to toe with him, and in a way is bullying Budnick, but he's bullying him in a way that's not giving Budnick at all what he wants, and Budnick doesn't know how to respond to that because he can just get away with it. One thing that I really liked in Michael Goes to Camp, and I wish they had pushed this just a little bit further, because a lot of times, you know how you have those villains where they don't have to raise their voice and scream to be intimidating. Whenever Sponge starts to spray his shirt with ketchup, he just stands there and he makes no expression. He just stares back. And I was, during that moment, I'm going, oh boy, you've done messed up. And the other ones are laughing in the room, but you're waiting. Once things settle, that's when he's going to strike. That's what I got from when he was quiet and just staring. And then he goes into the screaming fit. I'm like, okay, you've lost the threat now. Now you're just a sniveling child. But if they kept that quiet anger for the rest of this episode and then had a small payoff at the end, that would have been chef's kiss. I wish we would see more quiet, reserved, angry Budnick, more so than just screaming, because the screaming is good. But he's a schemer, and I would like to see that more. But that was all gone here because Pinsky just does not care. But anyway, that's all I've got for Pinsky.
That was a very rousing speech. Well, we'll move right along to memorable quotes, which is a pretty fun one that we also did for our Pete and Pete episode battle back in fall of season 3. Starting with Michael Comes to Camp, I'm just going to list a few of these because I could not stop laughing when I was going through this episode. So many good one-liners that makes you realize that, you know, Steve Slavkin just knows his story inside and out, and there's just a lot of quotable things that you can say till today, and it's still hilarious. So I'm going to list off some of the ones that I came up with that really resonated with me throughout this episode. Starting off, we have
Food bites, bugs bite, activities bite, everything bites.
From Sponge. We also have
I suggest you stand at attention, click your heels, and salute your shorts.
which he also said in title drop right before the intro. We've got
Hello and welcome to Bunk 13, 200 miles from the nearest flush toilet.
from Budnick, one of many zingers he throws out there in this episode. We also got
I got fantastic reading material. 50 cents I hold it. For $1 you can turn the pages.
And like, what kind of magazine is that, Budnick? Old dirty magazines or dirty old magazines? As they said.
It's a Nick magazine.
Nintendo
Of course.
Power.
Yeah, something young boys want to read. This one's from Kevin. Ugg. Kevin Ugly.
So for the rest of the summer, I'm going to keep an eye on you. And I'm going to keep my other eye on you. And I'm going to keep my other eye well, let's just say I will be watching you.
Getting all caught up in his head. From Michael, we have...
And I shop wherever my mom makes me.
That's very revealing of his character. Here's one Dina said.
We had Norwegian salmon. Oh, all the way from Norway. Doesn't anybody care?
That stuck out to me because I'm a salmon lover. Dina also says in response to Donkey Lips being new hero, although it's kind of mean, but it was funny at the time.
Oh, your breath smells like a wet diaper.
Just that imagery is very strong. Later, Donkey Lips says,
Whoa, power puke.
which I really like the inflection of him saying that in response to Sponge kind of going off to the side after their high-past heist. Yeah, just like that. Let's see. Oh, and
Around on our friends? Sorry, Big Bird, go pluck yourself.
another zinger from Budnick when Ugg's trying to find out the culprit. Of course, you have...
Hey, everybody, it's awful waffle time.
That quote's probably bigger than the entire series because everyone knows about it. And then finishing off with a cherry on top, we have...
You are roasted, toasted, and burnt to a crisp.
which they repeat in many other Season 1 episodes by Donkey Lips, Budnick, and Sponge, because they all say it during this episode.
Well, for the Pinsky Comes to Camp, we have Budnick going,
Hey, where's King Loser?
of course referring to Michael. ZZ had said to Donkey Lips,
Shouldn't we say a few words?
I'll say something. I got dibs on his extra dessert.
yay, Donkey Lips. Pinsky says,
Behold, the famous Pinsky salami. The most delicious meat or meat byproduct known to man.
Donkey Lips says to Ugg,
How come you got a jock strap on your face? Protection. I guess I don't understand how jock straps work.
I love
One of my favorite visuals of that episode.
Pinsky says,
I don't like rules.
and also Pinsky,
Come on, let's go get a soda. And some ice for my hand.
after he had just attempted to break through the quarantine sign. And last quote is from Budnick.
Now I can't sleep. I gotta find out what happened to Pinhead. What, is Ugg making him hug a tree? Making him pick up rocks? What? Or did he just kick him out of camp?
What I love about that last quote is that when Ugg is about to dish out the punishment to Pinsky when he catches him outside the bunk, he was like,
First, I'll have you hug a tree.
and we're like, wow, that totally tracks.
Sounds like Budnick is talking from experience.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two about getting into trouble.
For getting into trouble, we've got to have some camper hijinks in order to get into some trouble. So, Brett, what are some hijinks that your campers had?
Oh, there's quite a bit in this one. I mean, starting off, we had got the booby traps in the bunks with like all the pies and switches and just all that stuff being dumped on Ugg. I feel so bad for him. He's pretty much like Harry and Marv from Home Alone. Like same exact thing. He would fit right in with them.
That whole thing, even though it's very much we think Home Alone, but what I think of more is Disney's Parent Trap.
Oh yes.
Not the Lindsay Lohan one, but the one with Haley Mills, the original one, because they had the kids camp thing, and there was a big food fight, and I think they even booby trapped their bunks at one point too.
Maybe it's just a thing that goes hand in hand with camp. I've never laid booby traps there, but
yeah, we haven't either.
Yeah,
we were highly discouraged to do so.
Yeah. Of course, we have stealing Telly's glasses, which, according to Budnick, was pretty nasty even for him. Framing Flankman.
Doubt
that. I don't know what the extent of his crimes are at camp. Maybe to start off. We also have Framing Flankman for broken glasses with the whole Awful Waffle scene, which to this day I'm still curious what it is, but it sounds painful. We got Michael wrestling with Budnick on the baseball field, of course, when he's trying to make it to third base, Michael. Budnick dumping a bucket of water on Michael. Yeah. I see what you did there, Alex. Gross. Ugg's nickname being introduced, of course, as Donkey Lips shouted it out. Ugly, 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 ugly.
U-G-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're ugly. Yeah, you're ugly.
We got Dina and ZZ TPing the boys' bunk, which happened at the end credits as an act of revenge for them breaking into their bunks the previous night. Ugg getting covered with whipped cream, eggs, baked beans, and feathers, as we had mentioned before. Hoisting Michael's shorts up the flagpole to start the trend of the entire series. And, of course, Sponge squirting ketchup all over Budnick in retaliation after Michael confessed. So quite a lot of stuff going on here for a first episode.
And for Pinsky Comes to Camp, there is dancing in the lodge. Pinsky is feeding everyone his salami, especially trying to bribe Ugg at one point. Sneaking out of the lodge to get food out of the food pantry. Pinsky faking back spasms, so Ugg has to carry all of his stuff. Sprays fake ketchup chicken pox onto Ugg's face, blasting loud music to wake Ugg up. Budnick hoists Pinsky's shorts up the flagpole. Both of our episodes have the prop falling bed for Mike and Pinsky. But I think both had sneaking out. Yeah, they both had sneaking out at some point. Just of course, mine was for the lodge. His was to get back into the other bunk and sabotage their rooms. Not as much in terms of hijinks, but it was mostly just trying to break Pinsky's spirit, more so with trying to gain dominance. So not as much in terms of the coming out with a bang like Michael Goes to Camp did.
Well, our last category is why my new kid is better, because it seemed more fitting than lasting appeal.
They crush.
So for Michael Comes to Camp, we touched on this a little bit before for main character. He's a down-to-earth, relatable kid. He's liked by the girl campers. They call him cute. And that even continues into later episodes as Dina develops a crush on Michael. He's very humble. He's into sports, which he bonds with over telly over the course of several episodes. He's friends with Sponge, which we also see him take further in future episodes, especially in Donkey Lips Loves Dina when they're like DJing together at the dance. He tends to keep Budnick in check, which I like, which we also mentioned before about his yin to Budnick's yang, or vice versa. I'd say he's better. It comes down to just relatability and for really sucking all the kids in to the show when it first came out in 1991, or even in reruns, because it had many, many years of reruns on both Nickelodeon and later Nick Gas, its sister channel, in the early to mid 2000s. So I think his strength lies in wider appeal, that anyone can imagine themselves being at camp with these characters, having fun, getting in trouble, going through all these different obstacles to just kind of get through the summer after their parents dumping them off. He has a lot of good moments, even if he doesn't necessarily stand out for his personality, but I still find him endearing in his way that he can just get along with any character he interacts with, sooner or later throughout his time on the show. And I think that just boils down to his appeal.
And Pinsky, he's the cool kid. Michael was liked by the girls, so was Pinsky at first. The girls even said he has potential. And also, where Michael was good at sports, so was Pinsky. I mean, he threw out Budnick from the outfield, past the outfield. Nobody should have been able to throw it that far, that fast, and still be able to catch Budnick out when he was running from third base to home plate. So that he's got some skill as far as sports goes.
With a bad back too.
With a bad back, but he said it comes and goes. But also the dude should go into politics, because he is a master persuader, even able to completely get Budnick to do his bidding. Because Budnick could have right at the very beginning tells Budnick, "Hey, get that football for me." He could have very easily gotten it himself, and we could all easily see Budnick just saying, "No, get it yourself," but he actually caves. It's a small thing, but it does have some weight, because he was still manipulating Budnick at this point, and even just continues to give Budnick a smile constantly. That no-care personality is very... it's very, I don't want to say poignant, but what's the word I'm looking for? It's a potent. That's the word I was looking for. It's a very potent personality for this episode, because no one can get, not even Ugg, which I've already gone in depth with before, so I'm not going to add more to that. But as far as why mine is better, is Michael is a good character, and by good I mean he is. I don't want to say he's neutral good. He's not really in chaos. He's not really passive. He's right in the middle of. He still stay on the good side, but he's not chaos, which is a
maybe more towards order.
Yeah. Yes, very much. He doesn't have a strong personality, but he has strong morals, which is great. And like every kid, every person, they have good qualities and bad qualities, and sometimes the bad qualities win out, and that happens to Michael in this episode, which is a rare thing going through the entire series. But that being said, he's the safest character, which is why for me, and I'm sure for a lot of others who haven't seen the show in a long time, the other characters are the one that stand out the most because they have strong personalities, and many of them still have those strong morals. Whereas Pinsky has a much stronger personality, he has a stronger character, and you're not losing any of those morals because you still have them in those other characters. And he has an interesting dynamic because you don't know. He's someone that you could potentially buy to be on your side, whereas Michael, you have loyalty. Pinsky, he's a wild card, which for story structure makes things a lot more interesting because you don't know where his allegiances are going to lie, which can make for some really fun dynamics for future episodes. So Michael is a bit on the bland side, but high morals. Pinsky makes for more of an interesting potential story because he's not going to let anyone get to him. He's a master manipulator. You just don't know whose side he's on. And he still has everyone in his pocket except for Budnick.
I would argue that even though Pinsky is good at like getting everyone on his side, Michael can equally do that too, because it's not like, aside from Budnick, anyone is his enemy from the get-go. He still gets along with each other, all these characters that we get to know throughout the series. Naturally, he doesn't really have to force it. And I would say in counteracting to him being bland, that may be the kind of typical response you get from Michael, because he doesn't emote too much unless he's like pushed to the edge, which oftentimes Budnick provokes him, or he's just trying to stay out of trouble from Ugg. But I would say he's pretty resilient. He puts up with a lot of crap, not only in this episode, but in many episodes throughout this series. And he could have just left after Budnick, played one too many pranks on him, and just that was the end of it, of camp, and we just deal with, the three boys and the three girls at their bunks for the rest of the series. But he didn't. He chose to stay. He endured, even another bully, Thud Mackey, in a later episode, Brian's for Thud Mackey, and even with all these challenges that are kind of an uphill battle for him just surviving Camp Awnawana for the summer, something about him has a very quiet confidence that I admire in his ability to kind of stick the path, stay within his bounds, but keep going no matter what's thrown at him. Mm-hmm. So even if he may not necessarily be interesting or a wild card in terms of like watching him on TV at home, at least he's like very steady, stable. He's pretty much like the glue that holds the group together. Kind of a background character, but also equally important, because without him, how do we link all these characters together in this camp experience?
Mm-hmm. Which is a fair point, but also if we're going for just these two episodes, they both get put through quite a bit of a ringer. Michael is more of the it slowly builds up and he puts up with it, whereas Pinsky just throws it right back. But he still has to put up with Budnick messing with the bunk. He still has to put up with Ugg. He still has to sneak out and of course he's doing it willingly, but he still has to put up with trying to get himself out of a problem whenever he's got himself into it. The two very different moral compasses, but they still have two very different ways that they go about it. And there is a strong parallel, which of course the writers knew that. That's why they go through so many of the similar arcs. But how do each of these two characters? Let's introduce the character the same way. Let's see how each character does it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're having this debate today, so that we can see what's similar, what's different, and if any one of them are worth our time more than the other, or if they just have a longer lasting legacy. All right, well, that was quite a battle that we waged on the battlefield there, Alex. Justin, do you have anything to add before we cut to a commercial break and do our final verdict afterwards?
I have nothing to add right now.
Speechless, huh? With all the amazing facts that we spewed at you. He's like, I'm dead on the field. Just come pick me up and take me away. I'm good. While we freshen up at the showers at camp and get ready for our dinner at the lodge, we're going to cut to a commercial break. So don't go anywhere, Slimesters, because camp is still in session when we get right back.
We'll be back with more Salute Your Shorts after this.
That looks tasty.
Pete and Pete, Roundhouse, Red and Stimpy, Hey Arnold, Welcome Freshman, Gullah Gullah Island, and that's just the main timeline episodes. We still have our exclusive season on Patreon and our minisode series. Season 4 has been a lot of fun covering Nickelodeon and Boy Meets World. The slime tank is so full and running on all cylinders that the slime is beginning to overflow. In true Splat Attack fashion, we are ending our season with our season overview. Tune in next week for the closing of Season 4 as we transition into our 5th season. Get your wieners and enter Puppet Land. Wienerville is turning 30. Get ready to hear about Boney, Dottie, Sacco, and more. We are joined by Mark and Max Wiener once again, along with Ray Abruzzo, David Jordan, and fans Manny, Kylie, David, and Amy. You will only find this episode on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/splatattack to get access to a full season of exclusive episodes as well as our previous seasons. While you're here, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you are using a podcast app, please leave us a review. These simple actions make a huge impact on our channel as we strive to continuously provide nostalgic entertainment. Get ready to be wienerized, and we will see you in Wienerville.
And now, back to Salute Your Shorts.
Alrighty, so we're all freshened up and we're ready to head into the lodge for our delicious dinner and find out the final verdict of who wins this exciting epic episode battle. But before we do that, Justin, would you like to give us your breakdown of the points for each category and form your final verdict for us, please?
Yeah, so we're going to start with the story, and I will just give you the breakdown before I give you my choice. So I think that with Michael Comes to Camp, they do a really good, that's a lot of responsibility. A first episode, you have to set the tone to be watchable and pull everybody in. You get all of the character development. We get to meet everybody. We get to understand who runs camp, whose role is what in camp. We get a lot of hijinks. There's a lot of content in that first episode. It's just a never-ending ride. And I think it's one of the best series openers in children's television. I think it's just so good. I've heard musicians say this before, and it's I think it applies here. When asked about the success of albums and creating an album, they say that you have your whole life to make that first album, and you have a couple months to make that sophomore album. So you get to change and create and put all this in and I feel like that the first episode is just so good at doing that. On the flip side, I think the season 2 first episode, they don't need to revisit that. They're not relying on telling you who these people are. They're pretty much just introducing a new character and making, honestly, the best of a bad situation with losing one of your star actors. Anybody coming into that role would have a tough time replacing like a beloved character. I think they do that as well as possible. I think the story is very good. There's so much in that episode that it's iconic television for me. But with what I was saying about the first episode and how much story, how much they cram into that first episode so that you know who these people are and you know what you're in store for the rest of the season, I'm gonna have to give it to Michael Comes to Camp. A pizza, just because it's so packed full with development. So that goes 1 to Sir Michael. So main character. I just want to look at my notes real fast. Just describing their character, basically, who they are as a person. I am going to give that to Pinsky.
Pepperoni.
I'm going to give that to Pinsky because I feel like what I just said earlier with him being kind of in a hole, replacing someone you already care about. Michael's a great character. He's so relatable. He's part of the reason that I love the show, because I'm like, yeah, he's not having a good time outside either. The bugs are biting. It's miserable. Got kids bullying him. I feel like Michael could have been a background character invited to come sit with the cool kids and say, hey, it could have been anybody at camp that was being bullied, that eventually people were like, hey, he's all right. He's not bad. Come sit with us. Because he's so even-keeled and not very dynamic of a character, he could have been a background character. All the likability and stuff, that could have been anybody at camp. He's the every kid, and I think that he does that well. But then you got Pinsky, who comes in, and he has to fit into a system that's already established. The hierarchy at Camp Budnick running things. He had to fend for himself and really make a name for himself. And he came out there swinging, literally. He came out there saying, like, this is my camp. And I think another thing personality-wise that we didn't get in season 1 is, because we had Budnick pretty much running the show. He had Ugg around his finger. He had Sponge battling him with wits. He had, Telly being athletic and trying to get the best of him that way. Dina with her looks and trying to woo him. Everybody had their little bit of personality that they could never get the best of Budnick. Then you got this kid that comes and he out Budnick's Budnick. Like, that's dynamic. So as a character, I'm going to give it to Pinsky just because of single-handedly what his character brought in entertainment value to the show. Because we've never seen Budnick not know what to do. And he totally changed the game on Budnick.
He was thrown off his game too.
Mm-hmm.
And then next we have camper hijinks and activities. So this was a tough category. I wanted to give it a tie because the first episode with Michael coming to camp, there's nothing but hijinks. We have we call it like ribbing, like the jokes, the practical jokes, earning your spot, like tars and feathers, all the classic tropes of hijinks are in that episode. It does it very well. But when it comes to hijinks and memorability, like I said, Pinsky disrupted the system that was there. Like, the campers all were in their comfort zone, knowing, hey, Budnick's out of control, but we'll get through this. Pinsky comes and takes Ugg and turns him almost into a lackey just because he has some cured meat. The dancing and singing at night, like, he pretty much took this camp and said, I'm the captain now. So I think hijinks for sheer volume, you'd have to go with Michael, but for the audacity of this kid coming in here, breaking curfew, sneaking food into camp, making him carry his stuff, like, everybody's thrown off, like, who is this? We recycled Michael and made him better. I think you have to go with Pinsky on that as well.
Mushrooms.
So we got 2 for Pinsky. Now we're on to memorable quotes. This was a tough one too. This was very tough. Because the line in Pinsky's episode where Donkey Lips said he doesn't understand how jock straps work, that just kills me every time.
I never knew how jock straps work until my father explained it to me for baseball. I'm like, I'm not wearing that. Can I just wear regular underwear?
But however, though, if we're gonna go and put these two against each other, the lines that we get in the first episode with Michael, the awful waffle, the roasted toasted, we just get the iconic ones. There's just so many heavy hitting ones in that episode. Which I think that the verbiage, the language that they use is kind of the charm of that show, those quotes. And I think they kicked it off really strong. There's some very good quotes in the Pinsky episode too, but I would have to go with that to Michael Comes to Camp.
Bell peppers.
Just because it's just the groundwork. It's the iconic letting you know, and you get them from everybody too. Everybody in that episode gets to shine pretty well. So we got 2 to 2. And we're going out with Why My New Kid Is Better. Okay, I've said this for all the categories. If you didn't ask me to be the judge, if you just said, hey, Justin, who do you like better? I'd say Pinsky. If you just gave me no second to think about it, just because I think he's a more dynamic character. However, I think Michael would make a better friend. I would like to be around Michael more. I think Camp would be a little bit more, because I don't like excitement in my life. Like there's a time and place for the sociability and stuff, but I like it to be pretty quiet and orderly. I don't want people keeping me up dancing all night.
Yeah, imagine that happened every day.
Yeah, I'd be like a week into this, I'd be like, Ronnie, would you knock it off? Come on, man, we just want to sleep.
Could you see a doctor about that?
I think Pinsky coming to camp, I think, is more interesting with what he brought to the thing. And the reason I would kind of want to give it to Michael, which I'm not, I'm going to go with Pinsky, is because Michael has never made me not like him. I've been like, okay, man, like stop whining. It's not that bad. But that's kind of like the relatability. Mm-hmm. But when I know we're not talking about separate episodes, but Pinsky and Spudge's Gazette is the most toxic character and almost made me like not like him at all. I'm like, this guy was cool at first, but he's pretty much a jerk. Mm-hmm. But I really think if you just isolate not the episodes, nothing to do with the episodes, but who would you rather have at camp? Who makes life more interesting? I don't think there's enough to say that Michael brings something that somebody else at camp doesn't. I mean, and Pinsky, the thing about that too, when Alex was talking about the bullying and stuff, and Pinsky gave me and probably a lot of others the blueprint for how to handle a bully. You can ignore, and it's not easy, and people get under your skin, but you give that bully satisfaction, and you take that away, you're taking away all their power. So I think that as a character really shows a lot, because for the first season, 12, 13 episodes or whatever it was, everybody's just getting abused and berated by Budnick. Like nobody can stop this guy, so everybody just kind of deals with it. He does loosen up later, I think, from the sick episode, and in season 2 he gets a softer side too as he starts, I don't know, going through puberty and liking girls or whatever, chilled him out. But I think maybe Pinsky coming in and hitting him and saying, listen, you need to chill out, you're not the top dog anymore. I think that really humbled Budnick and gave him some more depth as a character too. So I think Pinsky brings a lot more to the table as far as a single character. So I'm going to give him that category too.
They crush.
So 3-2, Pinsky. And I tried my best to not be a Pinsky homer and just be like,
we have a winner. The cool kid wins. I get it.
Well, I feel like Michael was who I was, and Pinsky is who I would like to be. And I don't think anybody making a TV show about me as a kid would have been that interesting. So I want to see the Zach Morris. I want to see the whoa, he's really doing that. Like I think he brings a lot to the table. But storyline wise, and a lot of the quotes and everything definitely go to season 1. But I'm like, it's like they're both exceptional episodes in different ways.
Yeah, it's like one is 1 or 2 points better than the other. Like just edges out. It's not like a clean sweep. And surprisingly, with all the episode battles and verses we've had on this podcast, not one of them was a complete shutout. Like all of them were like 1 or 2 points within each other. So it just goes to show you the quality of television that we experienced growing up is, very balanced. Needless to say, I actually designed this episode with who got paired up with what episode based on our relatability, because I related to Michael more than Pinsky. And I feel like Pinsky was very much a cool character, very much like Alex's, because I'm the stuffy one. So there you go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well done. Well done. So I'm shaking with the other hand. Here we go. Left hand.
Another notch in your victory belt. I've won like maybe one in all of the verses and episode battles we've had so far. That's okay. It's all in good fun.
I was trying really hard to not make it a tie because I could have gave 3 of those categories ties. But as you guys were talking, I was like leaning one way and then you guys would pull me in another way. And it's too good of a debate.
It's amazing how many times that's happened, Justin.
Yeah.
We've had several times when there would be, there'll be clean sweep for this one. Oh, crap. Crap.
Yeah, even with our previous episode, Watchers Woods versus Welcome Camp Nightwear, I thought I was going into it judging with like Watchers Woods just taking over everything. And then I realized, oh wow, there's a lot of depth to this particular one that other Goosebumps episodes don't have. So it ended up being a tie because of the way they brought their A game in the conversation. These episodes really surprise us when we do these formats.
Yeah, especially when we have certain criteria and we take away our nostalgia goggles off and look at it objectively. Some really good content here.
I got a question for you, Justin. If you were designing this episode battle, what 6th category would you put in as a tiebreaker if this theoretically tied?
So without even thinking about it, the first thing that popped into my head would have been supporting cast, but that doesn't do anything to differentiate between Michael and Pinsky.
Yeah. Or maybe relationship to Budnick.
Oh man, you know what I love about the show are the interactions with Ugg. So I might want to see who has the better interactions with Ugg, like the more memorable interactions.
That's good.
Ugg.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too.
Want to take it to sudden death?
Best use of classical music.
Yes.
Off the top of my head, without hearing any debate, I think if you just said who has the better interactions with Ugg, playing piano while he sits on the couch eating salami. I don't know. I don't know that Michael's ever done anything that cool. You know, I do like Ugg's relationship with Michael when the Thug Mackie video in that episode, because he's really kind of like feeling bad, like, oh man, I don't want to lose another camper, and he's concerned about Michael and supportive, but nothing that's like highlight reel in my head about like Pinsky, especially just in that first episode alone. He does so many things with Ugg that's just like I want to see more of this kid and what he's going to do to the season.
Well, that was a pretty good episode battle, as Alex celebrates by having
I'm giving
a very intimate. Jeez, I can't even think of something witty. I'm that bothered. Well, let's just go into our episode ratings because I can't think of anything better to say. Justin, what do you give each of these episodes on our Splat Attack scale?
This is the easiest you've made my job all night. Both episodes I'm giving triple S. I love them.
Awesome.
They're top tier in my book, both of them.
Interesting. Alex?
Both of these episodes are not in my absolute I love instant favorites for me, but they're in the upper echelon of Salute Your Shorts for me. I give both of these the same rating, and I really like how season 1 came out swinging, and as Justin had said earlier, really fleshed out almost every character from the get-go, and it was breakneck pace. And then season 2 really parallels that one, but now with a new character, and how does he interact with all these characters, which I thought was very, very smart. I give both of these episodes a double S.
Interesting. So high markings for both of you guys so far. Well, my ratings are going to be a little bit off the beaten trail, because For Michael Comes to Camp, that really left a strong impression on me as a kid, and I guess I really related a lot to Michael, even though I'm also equally part Sponge and ZZ for their love of technology and nature. But I always felt like I can handle camp no matter who could who got in my way when I went to Boy Scout camp based on Michael's interactions. And he even ended up disarming Budnick in later episodes. A lot of great quotes. You got the awful waffle scene. You got Ugg being tarred and feathered in that whole crazy Rube Goldberg machine trap thing, which I love, especially with the can music that's playing in the background. It's just perfect with that accent of the duffel bag kicking him out. It's very satisfying to rewatch over and over again. Also because this episode laid the groundwork for the entire series and did such a solid job of doing so, I'm going to give it a double S. It's one of my... I wouldn't say it's in my top 5 because I really nitpick with those since I love Salute Your Shorts as a series. Like, it's hard for me to like really create a top 5 or a top 10 list with this show because they're all great. But if I have to split hairs, this would be like hovering around number 5, number 6 for me. And I would say Pinsky Comes to Camp is a little bit lower. I'm going to give that a Splat-Salent, which is an A, which is no slouch of a rating on our scale. But I just found Pinsky a little bit on the annoying side, like a little bit too arrogant and less confident, just because he comes out of nowhere. He turns camp upside down on its head, which I'm kind of a creature of habit. I don't like when chaos is thrown at me. So it kind of got on my nerves to just see everyone bow down to him as if he's the new king of Camp Awnawana without a second thought. And that ending with how Budnick was like, I just don't get it, and he walks away with the shorts gimmick backfiring on him, that really made me feel really down after it. Like, I empathize with Budnick because he's like dethroned from his top totem pole position here after he worked so hard to get all the kids under him. That's not to say bullying is encouraged or even good, because it's not. But for his specific character and how I've warmed up to him over the entire series, it was a little bit of a letdown. So I got to knock it a few points for that. But even so, the salami, come on. That's so hilarious and slightly inappropriate. You got the piano playing scene, which I just love. I got up and danced when I saw that too, because Pinsky plays a mean blues rag, and you got him just kind of making that power pitch from the middle of nowhere as he's entering camp. I mean, what an entrance. So I'm going to keep that like a high A, Splat-Salent, for that reason.
Well, I mean, even then, A is still really a high rank for us. The S is just, you're now in my favorite territory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like iconic, legendary territory. Yeah.
I feel like since I love the show so much, I would have a hard time giving anything in my top 7 or 8 less than a triple S, just because I love those episodes so much. And when you were talking about Michael and stuff, it got me thinking more about the Michael being the everyman more. I was picturing him like a Doug, like from,
very much.
Pinsky's like Smash Adams.
Yes, the cooler version of Doug. Wish you wanted.
He's all of Doug's insecurities with the volume turned up. He's the cool, cooler version of he takes all the perceived weaknesses, and makes them strengths. So they're both iconic. I mean, Michael walked so that Pinsky could dance. There's no Pinsky without Michael. So I think the fact that they are so dynamically different, there's no, oh my God, look at Pinsky, if there wasn't here's our reliable safety blanket Michael. Yeah.
I feel like it'd be a totally different story if this episode battle was like Pinsky or Flankman.
Oh God.
But no, these are pretty close characters that each have their own strengths, even if people perceive them differently. So all in all, go rewatch the episode. Salute Your Shorts is amazing and always needs more love. Alrighty, with that being said, while Alex hugs a kitten, we're going to play Think Fast to Make the Grade, which is one of our favorite trivia segments. Time to think fast to make the grade. So think you guys know some Salute Your Shorts episodes. I'm going to test your Awnawana knowledge in this trivia game. Thanks to Dr. Khan, who sponsored these trivia questions. So for anyone who doesn't know how this works, I'm going to ask a few questions to our guest and Alex, and whoever has the most points at the end is declared the winner, just for bragging rights. These for this segment specifically, the points are going to increase with the difficulty. So the first question is going to be pretty easy. The last question is going to be much harder. So it's going to really test your knowledge of this show. Okay, starting off for 1 point. Hands on your buzzers. What is Michael's last name?
Hug.
Meow.
Justin?
That's not the answer.
He was buzzing.
He was buzzing.
Yeah.
His full name is actually Michael Mush Stein.
Yes, Mush from Brownies for Thud Mackie. That's great. 1 point for you. All right, question 2 for 2 points. What does Ugg offer as a reward to find out who set the trap he fell into in Michael Comes to Camp?
Meow.
Alex?
It was a milkshake and a pizza every night for the rest of camp. The person who tells who did this to me.
That is correct. 2 points for Alex.
Are you guys snitching on, are you guys gonna snitch on your friends for a milkshake and a pizza?
No.
No.
You guys
It's
are better
tempting.
people than me.
It's tempting, but no. It depends on the type of pizza. I would go for barbecue chicken pizza.
What?
What?
Same.
Question 3. 3 points. How did Ugg get his nickname, and who gave it to him?
Ugg.
Justin?
It was given to him by Donkey Lips when they said his last name as the counselor, and Donkey Lips starts chanting it.
That is correct. 3 points for Justin. Very close game so far. Question 4 for 3 points. How many chicken pox does Sponge first guess Michael has when he'll return to camp in the Pinsky Comes to Camp episode intro?
I remember hearing it.
5 seconds.
Awnawana hay.
I remember what Sponge said.
40. It was less than 50. 47.
47. Alex, you got a number?
No.
Okay. Yeah! Justin got it! Although Michael never does come back, so good job. 3 points for you, Justin. And there's a bonus part to this one, so Alex, you can still catch up if you get this one right. So for 2 points bonus, how many chicken pox does Dina first guess?
Meow.
Yes.
She said 35.
That is correct. 2 points for Alex.
Because I thought that was hilarious. Anybody want a side bet? 35!
Yeah.
She jumped in quick.
All right. Question 5. 4 points. What did Zizi make to remember Michael by?
Boop.
Justin?
She, Zizi made him, or was gonna make him, put his picture in a locket that she, of course, was gonna use like a milk carton or something.
Yep. You got it. 4 points. Alrighty. So far the score is Alex 4, Justin 10. Making it competitive. Question 7. Question 6 for 4 points. What is Ugg wearing on his face to protect himself from getting chickenpox from the campers?
Meow.
This is
Alex got it because he buzzed in, not raised his hand. Sorry. Alex.
It's a jockstrap.
Of course. COVID approved too. I wrote in the answers a jockstrap, parentheses, I hope it's clean.
Oh, yes.
All right, 4 points for Alex. Question 7 for 5 points. What is Pinsky doing with the girls at the lodge at night?
Ooh, me.
Justin.
He is, well, what he's doing with the girls, he is playing the piano. They are dancing. And,
that is correct.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so we got 5 more points to there. Bonus for this one as well for 3 points, so you can get it. What is Ugg doing there while at the lodge?
Yeah.
Oh, me. Oh.
Alex, you got it slightly more. Slightly quicker.
He was eating the salami.
Yep, that is right. 3 points for Alex.
Oh, salami.
Alrighty. Question 8. Only 2 questions left. What is Pinsky holding when Ugg catches him raiding the lodge pantry?
Oh, Zoom.
Justin.
That's when he had the fruit, the watermelon and bananas.
That is correct. 5 points. Last question for 7 points. How many shorts does Budnick hoist up the flag for Michael, and what color are they?
Oh.
Meow.
Alex.
Michael, it was just one pair, and they were green.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Okay. I said green with red because there's a little red trim on it, but it's
right.
Mostly green. Good enough.
I never would have got the red.
The answer, I don't know the colors, but I think there were 5 pair in the Pinsky episode.
It's funny you say that because
there were 5 for that one.
That's the bonus one. Do you know the colors?
I have no idea. No.
I'll give you...
There were 6 total if you count Michael's.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll give you half since you didn't mention the color. So that's 3.5. Okay, so the final tally for this very intense Think Fast to Make the Grade is Alex has 18 points and Justin has 23.5.
Nice.
What?
Congratulations. I think you got a new high score for Think Fast to Make the Grade on this podcast. Impressive.
Nicely done.
I've watched these 2 episodes an embarrassing amount of times.
That's okay. I'm right there up there with you.
You're in light company, Justin.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a really fun round of that segment. I haven't done that in a while. Let's just jump into our closing question because I believe Ugg is on our tail and we might be kicked out of camp unless we say something real quick. So, closing question for all you Slimesters listening out there. Which Salute Your Shorts camper do you prefer and why? Write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at splatattackpodcast. You could also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Splat Attack Podcast of the same name. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers there, so if you could do us one little favor and hit the subscribe button, and even tell a friend to hit the subscribe button too, we could hit our threshold and do a whole bunch of new stuff for you guys that will make our podcast much more engaging and exciting. We also actually have a Patreon too, where we have a bonus episode of Salute Your Shorts, The Cursed Skull, which we did with Justin before, and 2 other guests, Dan and Andrew at BOC, which was a lot of fun. And we got tons of other great bonus content there in addition to bonus episodes, such as gag reels, bloopers, audio-only episodes, live streams, Gatgoid's Choice voting for future episode topics. It's a lot of great stuff. So if you really love this podcast and want to take your support to the next level, just head on over there to patreon.com/SplatAttack and pick the tier that best fits your budget. You could also buy some merch from us on our Bonfire page at bonfire.com/SplatAttack store. We recently added like a good 6 to 8 new designs there, so check them out. It's a lot of fun. We've been getting a lot of positive reception, especially with like our Roundhouse shirts. We got some Are You Afraid of the Dark shirts now. We've got Double Dare, Clarissa Explains It All, Stickly, even Wacky Dingo, which is based off of our Splat Attack original shorts, which we're hopefully going to do a few more of down the line. So if any of those appeal to you, definitely head over there and grab a shirt or mug. Thank you again, Justin, for joining us today. This was so much fun visiting Camp Awnawana during camp season. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Is there anything you'd like to plug before we go? Maybe the lights?
Yeah, I actually, I always plug you guys because everybody that is watching this knows why you're here, and these 2 are like the archive of Nickelodeon history. I mean, between Alex has every clip known to man. You guys are just hitting this nostalgia feel good from every single angle, audio, video, art. It's all there. You guys know. Check out the Patreon. Plus, if you aren't aware of the merch that they've been talking about, if you can think of any iconic Nickelodeon soundbite or moment of a show, there's a shirt for it now. I've seen them all. They're all insane. I wish I could buy them all right now. an outside of plug too, outside of the show, is Michael Bauer on Instagram has been in the last week or so talking about selling off some stuff from his career, different things from Salute Your Shorts. He's really doing some things too. I saw today on Instagram, he posted for San Diego Comic-Con, there's a Nick at nightclub where they're going to be doing all this like 90s Nick nostalgia stuff. So the community's thriving right now, and I've had some good conversations with Michael, and he's just a good guy, and he could use some support too. So if you guys like any of this, anybody watching this, I mean, support it if you wanted to stay around. We've been hoping for something like this for 30 years to have like-minded people, and supporting the community is the way to keep it going.
Definitely. Thank you so much for the kind word, Justin, and we agree. We hope he does well with, whatever endeavors he's pursuing, especially with the nostalgia-related ones and Salute Your Shorts ones that he's doing, and maybe we'll have him on the podcast down the road too. Wish him all the best. All right, tune in next time, Slimesters, when we return to the Slimes Tank. Dial down the ooze flow and kick back to look back at this past season with our Season 4 overview. While we don't normally have guests on these types of episodes, it's still worth tuning in to see the journey that we've experienced, as it'll have all the season's content compressed into a single podcast sitting. We'll be covering our bonus episodes, our Patreon episodes, our main timeline episodes, and minisodes, so there's definitely plenty to discuss and enjoy for the stopgap on the way to Season 5. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, we did a double dose of bonus episodes on Patreon this season, and it's amazing that I'm still alive after editing all that stuff. So you're going to want to tune in just to hear the journey that we took from Season 3 to Season 4. It was intense. Until then, Alex, will you drain the slime tank for us, please? I gotta return these glasses to Telly before she finds out I took them from her bunk last night. I was actually wearing them the whole time.
Aye, co-captain. Beware of Ugg. Unless you have salami in your pocket, he's going to be hot on your tail tonight.
Got it covered. Pinsky, come with me. You distract him while Sponge documents our expedition with his video camera. Splat you later, Slimesters.
It's dark out there. Beware of Zeke the plumber. He'll be fine.
Zeke! Get away from me with that plunger! No! Ah!
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits.
I reckon it's time for me to go. I'm glad that's over. Now for a peaceful night's sleep.
Well, that does it for now.
Yeah, we gotta catch a train.
Since I'm going home, you can have my arts and crafts project. It's a tweezer holder.
All right, guys. Let's go far.
How long have we been away?
See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. It's awful time.
Ugly, 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 ugly.
I'm thinking, first I'll have you hug a tree.
I can't believe you got that hit.
Oh, thanks. That was a good pitch.
I'm talking the hit on Budnick. Bam, right in the nose.
Well, I know you guys probably got this bed rigged, so I guess I'll take this one over here.
Budnick, it's gonna take a lot more than that to get rid of me.
Quarantine? No more.